we're going to talk about the difference between stacked charts versus cluster charts. Specifically, we're going to focus on column chart, stacked column versus clustered column, which can be applied to stacked bar versus clustered bar, which can also be applied to stacked line chart versus clustered line chart. For this, we're going to use data file Kirkland Regional. So I have the data file here. Again, we have the list of sales volume for 2 departments, for North and South Department for the Kirkland company for 12 different months. So now I'm going to use a bar chart to basically display the sales volume for both departments. So for that, I'm going to select all these 3 columns, insert a column chart. Here I have 3 options actually. The third one, I'm not going to talk about that. When we talk about the stacked column, stacked chart, you'll see for yourself, this would be only, this is in terms of the actual frequency. This one is in terms of the percentage out of everything, like out of each month. But that one, I'm going to leave it to you guys to take a look. For now, we're going to do only clustered. I'm just going to draw clustered, and I'm going to create another graph, stacked graph, and we're going to compare these 2 together. So clustered, and again, same thing, and insert column, this times stack. Just going to make this one a little smaller, this one a little smaller, and put it next to this one. All right. For now, I don't worry about the grid lines. I'm sure you know how to clean these graphs. I just want to talk a little about the difference between these 2 graphs, and we just want to see when it's appropriate to use a clustered graph versus a stacked graph, and vice versa, right? So the cluster graph, as you can see here, I mean, I believe the difference is obvious, but just to make sure that we cover it, in the clustered one, you see the, I mean, we have a bar chart, we have a column chart for the North, as well as a column chart for the South, but for each category, for each month in this case, we can see these 2 departments side by side, and we can make a 1-to-1 comparison for each category based on these 2 variables. So in this way, in this view, these factors, these departments in this case, are considered 2 independent, 2 completely separate factors that we want to compare for each category. When it comes to stacked, we have, I mean, the first one, which would be the North, we see the column chart for the North, but the South one, the South department, the sales volume for the South department come on top of the North department. They just stack together. And then you see this one, this, for example, we have, let's say 95 here, and then a 40 comes on top of it. So now we have it, the length of this column is 135. The total is 135. But what is 135? Why are we interested? Might be interested in knowing the 135. 135 is the sum of North and South. If we have a company, if we know that these 2 are, again, shares of a whole thing, these are two subsets, and together they make the whole company. We may be interested in knowing the sum of these two values, as well as seeing the pattern. So we want to see the pattern of the overall sale. We also see the pattern in sale. We see the increase, decrease, increase, and again decrease in the north. But it's so hard to see the movement, to see the increase and decrease in the south. But this graph makes it easier to see the movement, the pattern, movement pattern in the total sales, including both north and south. So here, stacked is basically when you are interested in knowing the time series pattern for the overall, for the sum of different variables, whereas clustered, which is usually more common, again, depending on the application, here we see the difference, the comparison is 1-to-1. All right, so that's the difference. You can do the same. It's not as common as column and bar. So you know how to convert this one to a bar chart. So that gives you exactly the same thing, except that this time is horizontal bar. And same thing here. So if you change it to stacked bar, it gives you exactly the same thing, except that it's horizontal. You may also use line chart. We may also use line, stacked, and clustered lines. It's not as common as the columns and bars, but you can always try. So I'm gonna change the chart type to line. And again, as you can see here, line with markers. We have the default one, which is the clustered one, and we have the stacked line with markers. I'm gonna use this one as clustered and this one as change chart type, line, stacked. Again, 135, the red one is not actually the south, is north plus south, the numbers that you see. South would be the difference between this number, which is 95, and this one, which is 135, and that would be 40. The 40 comes on top of the north. And the red one, the actual numbers here, show the distance, show the overall number, north plus south, whereas this one shows the time series independently, and at each point we can compare north versus south.